Hey everyone, so I wanted to make a video showing you exactly what you all said for what kind of changes you want to see for MTZ in 2017. So here's all the responses. This is through the Google survey that a lot of you took, 218 responses. Lots and lots of really good feedback. I was very surprised actually, first of all, in terms of how many of you took the time. 218 of you filled this out, which is completely awesome. And the other thing is the actual advice that I thought I knew, or the things that I thought were things you guys wanted. But turns out that there's much different perspective than what I thought, which is great because that's the whole purpose of doing this. That too, and some of you had some really good ideas, which I'm going to talk about too. So here's all the responses. I want to go to question 5 because question 5 was the one that is asking specifically what each of you want to see in 2017. And so what I did was I noticed a pattern. I noticed a lot of you were saying the same things. So I categorized everything. I put a number next to essentially how many of you said the same thing. And what I came up with was about 10 things that were consistent between all of you. So let's go ahead and have a look at this first. The first one being more specific in the readings. And I knew this too. And I was actually getting a lot of feedback too from those in my personal life saying things like, be more specific, like really get to the point. Because the thing with astrology is it can be very general. You know, you're looking at essentially these fundamentals of life, and there's some key words that are used to describe them, like expansive or free-spirited, you know, those types of things that I often say. The issue is that it's not so specific to what the actual day is about or what the week's about or the energy is about. So it's important, as a lot of you, 23% of you pointed out, which is very significant. That's a quarter of you would like to see things more specific. So whether it's giving more examples, whether it's just getting more practical with it, how to actually use the aspects, get more descriptive, deeper with it, not so repetitive, not always using the same words. And what else was it? Yeah, more concrete, more examples. Even some of you want some more stories and kind of relating it back on that level, which I'll talk about. But the point here is that, yeah, I'm going to do my very best to get more specific with it, so that it's more tangible and really get into the aspects in terms of how you can practically work with them. And it's challenging, you know, because again, astrology is working with these fundamentals, these very general, like ninth house things. You know, astrology is like ninth house, like, you know, the right side of the brain, it's the theories, the potentials and all this. But it's very important to get into the Gemini side of it to balance it out. Practical. How can we actually use these things and what does it actually mean in our personal lives? So 23%, very, very large number. So that'll definitely be something we'll start to implement. Now, the next thing is more personal. And I knew this too going into it, but not to this detail that a lot of you mentioned. Obviously, the format that I do is it's like a weatherman. You know, I'm just getting straight into the aspects, the placements and all that. Don't really get into my personal life. And I'm also not really big on that either, just in terms of my personality. You know, I'm very, as a lot of you pointed out too, just very, into the details and more scientific about things in general, not so big in the personal side of things. But with that being said, what I think I'm going to do is continue to do the dailies and weeklies the way I'm doing them now, but probably start to incorporate maybe some community things, maybe some, leisure sessions, more informal, as a lot of you advised, informal sessions, maybe a Q&A, as a couple of you mentioned, things like that, just to get a little more personal with it. And then maybe, depending on how things go, maybe share more about my personal experiences and all that in the daily and weekly videos. All right, so that's pretty big too, 12%. It's quite a few of you. The next big category was more astrology videos. So this is anything from learning astrology, birth chart interpretation, looking at things in terms of what does it mean if you're in your birth chart, if your planet's in this house or you have this particular aspect or something like that. Or maybe it was more about, a lot of you asked that you want to know more about Ophiuchus, things like this, or esoteric things. So generally just more astrology videos that I think are more geared towards education, geared towards learning astrology and the birth chart and all that, I think can be a very good implementation. I may even do like a weekly Q&A, you know, where I ask you all specifically what you want to know, and then I'll make a video around that. I'll choose one answer and make a video on that. So I think that's probably how I'll approach that. Then number 4 is more relative. About 5% of you want to see that how the daily and the collective energies relate more specifically to you. And that's challenging too, because of the fact that there's 12 or 13 rather different signs. And it's challenging to speak generally, but then, you know, incorporate that into you personally. So I'll try to figure out a way to do that. I do have some ideas. In fact, some of you mentioned some really good ideas. Maybe not so much about the signs, but maybe more about the cycles. A few of you mentioned the importance of relating things back to cycles. And so, you know, how can these cycles that we have, you know, like the, you know, with all the planets, you know, like the sun, for example, goes through a cycle once a year. Mars goes through a cycle once every 2.5 years. And every time they form an aspect, it is in relation to where they started the cycle or what the last major event was with the cycle. So I can relate it back to that so you can compare it to your life. And I actually started to do this already the past couple dailies. If you noticed, I was talking a lot about this October time that we're in, you know, because the aspects we have now are relating back to that time. So that could be relating it to your personal life. I may do it like that versus more about the signs and your personal chart, and just relate it back to your personal life so you can ask yourself the questions and see specifically what it's all about in a bigger picture sense and a more specific sense to you. And that goes back to number 1 too. You know, it's a good way to get out of the sphere of just talking about the energies and start talking about things that relate more to the bigger picture. Some of you mentioned too, you want to see more global things, what's going on in the world related to that. Again, not my personality, but I might do that. I might bring that in a little bit, maybe again with a Q&A or something like that. All right, so that's the top 4. Number 5 was some sort of summary. A lot of you want to see some sort of description, summary, or transcription, maybe in the in the description section or in the comment section. Just giving a brief overview. Some of you want to see some sort of dashboard on the screen that shows a general gist of what's going on. Some of you want to see like an ending that kind of sums everything up, maybe in some bullet points. So what I think I'm going to do for this one is, because a lot of you mentioned too that you want to see what's going on quicker. Some of you don't have as much time to watch a 9-10 minute video every day, so you want to know exactly what's going on within the first couple minutes. So I might just open the video with a quick rundown of what the general energies are, and then for those of you who have more time, use the remaining video to get into the specifics about it. You know, what does it mean? How does it relate? Those cycles and all that stuff, getting more specific. So that's probably what I'm going to do, and then maybe tie it all together at the end as well in the videos. But yeah, if you guys, by the way, if you guys have any advice, any more suggestions based on what you're seeing right here, feel free, comment in the section, in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to read them all and maybe implement some of these ideas that you all have. All right, so that's the summary dashboard, something to sum things up and just make it more, you know, tie it all together in the videos. So number 6, equally the same amount of you, 4.12%, want to see more visuals or stories. A lot of you mentioned when I did last year the what you call it, the MTZ sketchbook, right, where I went into the stories. I did a weekly. Obviously, that takes a lot of time, as a lot of you pointed out. So I'm not going to do the sketchbook again, but maybe I'll find a way to tie in some more stories or some more visuals to the videos. I think that could be certainly helpful. And again, maybe get more specific with things. And this ties it in too, where I didn't list it here, but because it's kind of part of other things, but a lot of you want to see things a bit more simpler. You know, and this is getting back to the more specific thing. It's like, a lot of you want to see it simple. A lot of you are new to the channel, so I'll probably make a video discussing like what it's like, you know, how to read the daily or what it means, and just simplify it as much as I possibly can. And I think maybe visuals and stories could be a good way to do that also. All right, so the next down the list is, and I actually expected this to be much higher, but about 3.5% of you said you want to see more monthly and yearlies. And again, it's time consuming because I already do the weeklies and the dailies. It does take time to do monthlies. I mean, I definitely could do a yearly. So there's a good chance I'll do this. I don't know to what extent. I might just do it more general. So stay tuned. Maybe it won't be in January. Maybe it will. I'm not sure. But I'm going to sit on this one. Okay. But I'll definitely consider doing monthlies and yearlies. All right. And number 8 on the list here, individual charts. This is what I was saying about relating it back to the personal chart. So a lot of you want to see how it relates to your sign. 3% of you said that specifically, which is quite high, I think, actually, for something like that. So we'll see how we can do that. Again, I think the cycles is really the best way to go about that and relate it back to your personal life. Number 9 was mentioning something about community. Again, this goes back to, I think, once a week I'll do something community related, maybe give away a free reading or do a chat. A lot of you mentioned that you'd like to see interviews, not so much interviews, but just talking with other astrologers. So I might send out some emails, maybe invite some other astrologers onto the channel and just have a discussion, live and or live or recorded, whatever it might be, and get the community more involved. Get you guys more involved with this, because of course this is the only channel that is covering anything that has to do with sidereal astrology, and this is a community thing. So shifting it in that direction, maybe more social media, something like that, but definitely more interactive with the YouTube channel, I feel like. All right, and then number 10, a lot of you mentioned that you want to see more on relationships. So whether it's in the daily or in the weekly, tying it into love life. Some of you mentioned you want to see like love videos in terms of for the week or something like that. So I'll see about that, but I think what I'll probably do is just implement a bit more on the relationships in the weeklies and tied into love and romance and that kind of thing. All right, so that's the top 10, definitely more specific. Although I saw that coming, a lot of you gave some really, really good feedback and advice on how to do that. More personal, yeah, I figured that, didn't really give it much thought, but you guys definitely made me think twice about that. And astrology videos, yep, educational stuff, certainly we'll be doing that in 2017. And more relative, I love the cycle idea. A few of you gave me that idea. It's really, really good because, it's so true. Everything is in cycles. And that's a great way to relate it back to our personal life, right? And then summaries, simplifying things, maybe some stories, monthlies and yearlies possible, and individual charts relating to that, some community stuff, and more on relationships. All right, so that's the top 10 things. I'm going to implement them all to some degree or another. Maybe not the monthly and yearlies, but these 10 in some way or another will probably be implemented. All right, so let's go ahead and look at, a lot of you probably want to know too what these results were, what the other questions were. And by the way, we're going to go ahead and announce the winner of the free reading for the survey. All right, so number 1, what is the main reason you watch video horoscopes? And this was surprising to me. 46.8% said for personal growth and development. And the reason it's surprising was because I was thinking about this in terms of the general demographic of YouTube. Because I'm thinking people on YouTube watch videos to see when something new will come into their life, whether it's a job or a relationship or something like that. But only 7.8% of you said you watch videos to see when something new is going to enter your life. So I expected that to be much higher, but I love this. This is what the channel is all about. And that's probably why it's so high, and probably why so many of you watch this channel, because the channel is about personal growth and personal development, right? So that's great. I'm going to keep going with that, keep elaborating on that side of it. And yeah, it's good to have that confirmation there. A big chunk too was about 20% said why certain events are happening, whether it's collective or whatever it might be. So that's good too. That's, giving more awareness to why we're going through these time periods and whatnot, and how it can certainly be utilized. And again, that ties it back to the growth and development. All right, and then about 11% of, or actually about 12% of you said choosing the best time for things, and about 12% said reading the collective energies. That's the collective side to it. So I guess the why is probably more specific to why you're personally going through those experiences. But yeah, almost 50% personal growth and development, which is great. It's what we're going to continue to do in 2017. All right, so number 2 was, what format do you like best? Kind of was expecting this one, but 61% said a combination of both the audio, with the charts and everything that I do now, but with more FaceTime. So the reason I took out the face is because I was only just talking in the beginning of the video, and I was like, what's really the point? But what I'm probably going to do is put a little section on the bottom right of the screen or something with the video feed on it. And then that way it's a little more personal, and you can see me talking about the chart and all that good stuff. So that'll show both the charts and get a little bit of that FaceTime, which a lot of you mentioned too in the last question. And then too, also with the weekly, the weekly Q&A or the community thing, whatever that's going to be, that'll be some more FaceTime as well. And not so many of you want just the face-to-face, which is interesting because so many channels on YouTube are just that, just the face-to-face. So I found that very, very interesting. But again, it's my channel, so a lot of you are watching it maybe because it's voice and it's more visual in that sense. All right, so number 3, how do you like to feel after watching a video horoscope? 50%, this was a surprise actually, 50% said informed. You're informed, you're here for the information, right? Which is great, and that's actually what I love to do, is give the information, cut and dry, practical, let you make the association with it. A big chunk of you, which is not surprising, 25% roughly, said you like to feel inspired, hopeful about the present and the future, right? And that's a big part of astrology, is to help us gain more insight so we can have a bit of hope and inspiration towards utilizing these time periods in the best way or constructive way. 13% said you like to feel at peace, knowing everything is unfolding in the right time, which is, I think, another great benefit of astrology. And 8% said feeling supported, knowing that others are going through the same kind of thing and those kinds of experiences. So, and then other commented down below, and that was a lot of things ranging from some combination of these things. All right, but informed, that's great. Again, is exactly what this channel is about. Number 4, this is the personal readings. A lot of you mentioned that you'd like to see cheaper readings, more discounted readings, maybe more promotions and things like that. So I think that's going to go back to the community thing, probably run some more promotions. But a lot of what you said is actually the price points that I do offer on the website. The largest being $75 to $100 was the comfortable range for about 26% of you. That fits within the recorded reading that I do offer. 100 to 150, about 18% of you, and that fits into the personal Skype session that I offer. $50 to $75 was 21% of you, and that's the birth chart reading, so that's good. But there was quite a bit of you that would like to see some reading under $50, and that was 12.4% of you. So what I'm probably going to do is add a 1-question reading. Some of you mentioned that, which I think you mentioned other astrologers do that. I have seen that before, actually. So probably do like a 1-question. All right, you got 1 question, 5 to 10 minute recording or something like that, looking at that specifically for you in your chart. And that's a good introduction into the other readings. So a lot of you can kind of test the waters, see what the reading's like before you get the full on, yearly 1-hour readings. All right, and then that was number 5. So then we talked about number 5, the top 10. So that was it. Truly, truly helpful. I'll probably do this more often, at least once a year, because of the great advice. And of course, again, this is all part of what we're doing collectively with the channel. So let's go ahead and have a look at the winner of the birth chart, or excuse me, not birth chart, but a predictive reading for 30 minutes. So basically what I did was, let me go ahead and pull it up actually. I went ahead and listed all of the emails that you all submitted. 201 of you out of the 218 or so submitted an email for this reading. All right, so what we're going to do here is I've got a number generator between, it's going to give us a random number between 0 and 201. And whatever that number is, that's going to be the winner. For those of you who did this questionnaire early, you're in the earlier brackets, you know, the earlier numbers of this. For those of you who did the questionnaire later, you're in the later portion of this. And I blocked it out so you guys, you know, you can keep your private emails there. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. It's just going to give us a number pretty cut and dry, and then we're going to compare it to the list. All right, here we go. All right, 120. So let's have a look here, see who is number 120 on the list between 0 and 201. All right, so if your email starts with CAHTA, it looks like you are the winner of the 30-minute recorded reading. So I'll go ahead and email you after this video and set that up. All right, so again, thank you so much for all of you who took the time to do this survey. It's been tremendously helpful. There'll be some positive things going into 2017. Again, most of you said you want to see things the same or consistent, and you really like what's going on. So we're not going to change anything. We're just going to add to what's already there. All right, so have a great day, everyone. I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.